Good evening. Thanks ever so much for coming out for our third lecture in the series of 6 songs that rock the world. Tonight we're going to be trying to cover 30 years, so hopefully I won't go on too long. It's been 20 years in the other two, but we're going to try and cover 30 years. And as you can see, the technology's moved on a little bit. Hopefully we'll have some fun tonight. I really do appreciate you being out on such a wet night, but let's crack on. So we need to go back, first of all, to go forwards. And starting in 1993, I'm going to first of all play a song that's based on songs from the 1870s. And these songs around the time of the Civil War in America codify all kinds of things like the Underground Railroad, and how to move and get away from the black slaves in the South, how to get away from your masters and things. And this was collected by Alan Lomax from a musician called Leadbelly, who was imprisoned for murder in prison, and he went around and collected him, and it's in a Library of Congress. But Leadbelly had heard it from a Cecil Sharp recording. And of course that's the link with Somerset, because of course Cecil Sharp collected many wonderful songs all around Somerset, Langport and Othery, but also from the Appalachia, so from the mountains, and this is one of the songs that he collected. My girl, don't lie to me, tell me where did you sleep last night? In the pines, where the sun don't shine, I would shiver the whole night through. My girl, where will you go? I'm going where the cold wind blows. In the pines, where the sun don't ever shine, I would shiver the whole night through. Her husband was a hard-working man, just about a mile from here. His head was found in a driving wheel, but his body never was found. My girl, don't lie to me. Tell me where did you sleep last night? In the pines, where the sun don't ever shine, I would shiver the whole night through. Okay, and I'm playing that one because in the 90s, bands like Nirvana were perhaps the last great rock and roll bands, and Kurt Cobain was looking back at his blues heroes. Leadbelly here had taken a country song, which is in 3/4, it's got like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, but he's also putting in the blues note there, that kind of minor third thing, and it's a very dark song as well. Lots of kind of gruesome stories were really, really popular at that time. And Nirvana were a huge influence in bringing people back to kind of guitar, bass music, rock and roll, and all the rest of it. A little bit of a name drop here, but the reluctant beginnings of Britpop, perhaps one of the very first bands was Suede. So in 1992, they played at the Brit Awards, and it was like the cavalry coming back, and everybody said, it's those guitar bands again, bringing back interesting lyrics about inner city, suburbs, Bernard Butler on the guitar there, putting in amazing kind of guitar-based licks, but wonderful pop melodies as well. And of course that went on to create all of the wonderful Britpop type sounds that happened all through the 90s, you know, Oasis, The Verve, Blur, and so on. And they were looking back towards the Beatles and the Stones and recycling all that great British invasion music and bringing it back out to a new audience. So it's kind of like looking back to go forwards, really. And of course we have Bette Anderson from Swayed In, which was very nice. We're going to invite an unsung hero up now, as we're dancing through. One of the amazing bands at this time was Radiohead, and they were perhaps being a bit more experimental and trying out new sounds and being perhaps a little bit reflective, and a little bit low key. But again, today, one of the most influential bands, particularly on rock and pop. So Josh, who's been doing all the sound for us throughout the whole 3 times, he's really been helping with all this complex production. He's doing all the work, really. He's going to come and help us sing this one.
Try.
Okay. Let's have a big hand for Josh. Let me stamp on my thing a bit. My feet aren't working tonight. Right, we might try a little bit of harmony. Yeah.
Chinese rubber band.
Josh didn't really know he was going to do that. So well done, Josh. Okay, so that's perhaps quite a straight song for Radiohead. You know, we're still kind of 1, 4, 5, minor 6, those basic chords we were talking about. There's nothing really amazingly complex musically there, but the sounds and the tones they were going for, and particularly the range of Tom York and his voice and pushing that's going to come back in a little bit. Around about this time, we start to get, we're going to leap on a little bit now to Mark Ronson. So we've mentioned this before, but with Mark Ronson, he starts to work with bluesy songwriters like the Zootons, so from Liverpool. They're kind of doing blues and soul, and he's saying, you know what, we could really kind of bring a bit of jazz back into that and reimagine the chords and put some major sevenths in. So we're going to play you a Mark Ronson song where he's reimagined a Zooton song. And this really in 2008, jumping on a little bit here, it's starting to look back again into 1960s recordings with horns and lots of reverbs and stuff. And at the same time, from Suede, which has now broken up, the guitarist Bernard Butler, Suede are back together, but Bernard Butler's moved on to other things. He's working with a young singer called Duffy and writing a song called Mercy, which is a soul blues song. So soul and blues in 2008 becomes really, really huge. Okay, so we're going to try doing a Zooton song there. Okay, right, let me do my one-man band thing here. So, as I was saying, this has got major seventh chords in it. So instead of playing this chord, it's the original chord. You can put this note in. It suddenly becomes more jazzy. So we've got the minor sevenths. And that means that you can do some really interesting things with horns and stuff. Of course, Mark Ronson's putting horns in there. It's kind of big jazzy chords. So watch out for those jazzy chords.
Won't you come on over? Stop making a fool out of me. Won't you come on over, Valerie?
That song's still just a blues. It's still got 1, 4, and 5. There's a couple of extra chords in there, but it's been jazzed up a little bit, taken from soul and blues more over to kind of jazz. And Mark Ronson was developing that. We're going to take a bit of a sideways look and look at something a little bit different. And I nearly brought a helmet tonight, but I thought I probably wouldn't be able to see what I'm doing. And it's going to be as much of a struggle as it is. But this French duo at this time started to introduce some sounds, and they were working in the French clubs and putting together sounds with some of the equipment that we've been looking at before. So things like Roland drum machines, the 808s, but the bass lines as well from the TR-303. So kind of fiddling around with stuff and programming them up. I spent a long time programming this up the other day. We're going to have a look at that in a moment. And this is going to represent a major piece of equipment that was all through the 80s. So they started off as a punk band and then decided actually we kind of like crafting stuff in the studio. We like to kind of make sounds and bits and pieces. So they brought out this record, which is called Homework. And this was a little bit of a hit. And this was unusual because it's quite sort of basic. You know, these are plates where DJs would mix stuff and there's a beat and a bass line. And the idea is that a lot of this was remixed by people like Deadmau5 and stuff like that and made more interesting kind of hits with it. But there's kind of stuff that people could work with and remix. But this track's a bit unusual because it's got a vocal on it. So we're after quite simple, repetitive hooks. If you're dancing, you can't really take in too much information, and you want something that goes on for a long time. And every sort of 16 or 32 bars, a DJ will know to put a bit of a drop or a change in, because that's a natural point in which you'd start to hear something new. In fact, there's a vocal seat after 32 bars. It's the same as 8-bar jazz. So Louis Armstrong would be writing things in groups of 8 bars, and there'd be a song. Ella Fitzgerald would sing for 8 bars, and then Louis Armstrong would take a solo, and Ella Fitzgerald would come back in after 16 bars. So there's natural things. We've got 2 legs. We like things in 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. So we're dancing, and after you've done it for a certain amount of time, you need something new to happen. So it's come back. The vocals dropped out again. And I don't know if you noticed, but the vocal's very altered. It's through something called a talk box. And a talk box or a vocoder, in this case, is where you can actually use a synthesizer to remodulate the voice. And we're going to be using this computer here, this sampler, to show you how you can change a voice as well. Let me just take that one off the turntable first. So that's around the world. And it was okay, you know, that was sort of all right, but they then had a terrible accident with one of these things, and it exploded and turned them into robots. And for the rest of the time, they didn't have to do any interviews because they were just wearing helmets. But that's how the story goes. And all of their next albums are things like Human After All and Alive and things like that. But this album, Discovery, was where they remembered that they really liked disco music. And they liked funky disco music. And it's all about sampling and resampling. So here, we've got a vocal sample. So this Akai was, there was an MPC version of this, which was developed by Roger Lynn, the guy that did the Lynn drum. We looked at the Lynn drum last week, and so he wanted things that people could play along with in the studio. And Akai got hold of him, and he had this way of playing, say, play things by tapping on a pad, and you can put sounds into it. This one here is attached to a keyboard.
Harder, better, faster, stronger.
So last night I recorded that sound in, or the night before, and you can map it across the keyboard. So you can play it at that speed, or you can speed it up.
Work it, make it, do it, make sense.
And I was reminded, in fact, when you think like, oh, you've just taken some samples and you're playing somebody else's record, it's actually really hard work to manipulate all this stuff. And these guys are there doing all that. Actually crafting these sounds is incredibly tricky. And what they did was they took this record here, Cola Bottle Baby, by, it's gone, it'll come back to me. Edwin Birdsong. Okay, so it's saying, hey, you look like a cola bottle. You've got a nice shape. It's quite a funky 70s track. So they found that track there. Now, interestingly, the Daft Punk guys, they've listened to this and they've thought, oh, that's brilliant. You've got exactly what I need. It's got a 4-chord turnaround. It's got those 4 chords, and it's a descending bass line. It goes down. It's a turnaround. It's something where if you loop it, you can loop it again and again, and you can actually get a really nice loop going. So if I go to this bit here, I can play it. Here's the 1, 2, descending. You can work out if you can just keep that going forever. And in this return to disco, then they've got this vocal sample, which has been altered with the vocoder. We play that over the top.
Harder, better, faster, stronger.
Okay, so you sort of get it in time.
Harder, better, faster, stronger. Harder, better, faster, stronger.
We do all kinds of things like that with it. Okay, let me see what I can do with this then. So against that, we've got over the other side, this is their remix of it. So we've got that sample, and you can bring it in like this. And then we've got the full sample, okay? Later on, we can bring in different ideas here.
Work it, make it,
There's the full sample with just the
make
beat.
sense.
So if we go back to the record.
Work it, make it, do it, make
Now
sense.
I'm mixing that with the other sample.
Harder, better, faster, stronger.
Okay, and then as it gets more complex towards the end,
Harder, better,
we actually do a
faster,
theme and variation, which is actually a classical idea, where you've got this very simple idea, just picking out notes in the chord, and it's going to get more complex. They're going to add more and more of the vocal sample in.
After work is over.
Back to the original sample and we can break it down, and this is a bit of the Kanye love, because Kanye West resampled this and put his own rapping over the top. But here we've broken down, and we've got hardly any of the original sample in, and it's playing variations of the chords. And you can hear it's being played on here because they're playing in modulation and pitch bending and playing a blues scale over the top. It's a pentatonic blues scale. That's what we started with. And that's the song. Okay. So by playing with these, hip-hop artists or dance artists have found that they're able to completely change take a simple idea like a vocal sample, a classic soul beat, something like that, and create something entirely new. Now they kind of went full circle. It was like the human part of them working through the sampler helmets, I suppose, as they sort of like discover their humanity through being robots. And they actually learnt to collaborate with people. And they collaborated with people like Nile Rodgers. You remember Nile Rodgers from Chic? And a lot of people said, oh, you know what, harder, better, faster, stronger. It actually sounds like a Chic bass line because it's that Edwin Birdsong thing. He was very influenced by that Chic kind of thing. And so they decided in Random Access Memory, in their final album before they broke up, to go completely back to disco, go back to old studios, record to tape. We started off with tape, record through tube, old-fashioned 50s equipment, play all the instruments live, create their own stuff, go back to verses, choruses, still got the 4-chord turnaround. It's a minor 4-chord turnaround in this one. But a song like this with Pharrell Williams and Nile Rodgers is kind of where they got to.
Legend of the Phoenix, a left with beginnings. From Alice Laing, falls from the beginning. We've come too far to give up who we are. So let's raise the bar and our cups to the stars. She's up all night to get sun, I'm up all night to get sun. She's up all night to get fun, I'm up all night to get lucky. We're up all night till the sun, we're up all night to get sun. We're up all night to get fun, we're up all night to get lucky. We're up all night to get lucky, we're up all night to get lucky. We're up all night to get lucky, we're up all night to get lucky.
There's the Roger Lynn. So this Akai sampler here, you can see it's the same kind of series, but this one here has got the pads in, so you can play that. And that's a great thing that you can do to just sort of rearrange and take a chord from this song and a chord from that song and create a whole new thing. And a band that really kind of went from being a punk band to, you know what, we can use all this and we can use synthesizers and we can create new sounds, but we'll use an orchestra as well. And we'll do a whole concert in Zorb balls because it's a lockdown, you know, and we'll do crazy stuff and dress up as animals or whatever they do. Okay, this band, the Flaming Lips, here, we're going to move on to one of the most eclectic and interesting songs. I first became aware of this song when my sister got married, and my brother-in-law chose this for them to walk out to. And as you can imagine, this is probably the first and last time that the whole two families would get together. And that kind of makes it quite poignant. And I thought, that's a really strange choice for a wedding, first of all. But as I listened to the lyrics, I realised it was kind of the perfect choice. So have a listen to the lyrics, because it's our next kind of thing. There's a little bit of dust on it. Let's just go. Here we go. This is Do You Realise? Okay. What a pop song can do is my subtitle. Do you realise? Flaming Lips. Synthesizers. can hear there's these incredible lifts because they're actually going through what we call modulation. They're changing key throughout the song. It's a sort of a progressive rock song, if you like, and we heard that with David Bowie last week, where he'd be experimenting, particularly in a song like Space Oddity, changing key all the time. And there's some really quite complex musical ideas involving choirs and things. Lyrically, though, that's from a concept album called Yoshimi Battles the Pink Robots Part 1. Well, that's the single front. And it's about somebody taking on these massive robots and attacking the city, and there's this manga character, and she goes, well, anyway, it's a big sci-fi thing. They have these big kind of operatic prog ideas in the albums, but the thing I love about this lyric is it's asking the big things. It's thinking about mortality. It's saying, think about it, look around. Everybody you know one day will die. So once we face that, we can realise what really matters and we can move through it. And that was a beautiful thing to have at a wedding, because looking round at that wedding, people weren't with us then, or you think, well, this might be the last time we're going to all be together like this. So let's realise that and really appreciate it. And this song I've become aware of fairly recently, and it's won lots of awards and Grammys. But this is jumping on to 2017. It's Jason Isbell and the 400 Unit. On their album, The Nashville Sound, they do this really quite exquisite country song called If We Were Vampires. And lyrically, I see a connection because he's singing it with his wife, Amanda Shire, who plays with Willie Nelson's sister and other people. She's a sort of well-known country artist. And they're singing this together, and it's quite poignant if you listen to the lyrics. It also gets us to the next place we're going to, because this was very much sort of influenced by the next kind of sound we're going to be looking at in a minute.
It's not the long flowing dress that you're in, or the light coming off of your skin, the fragile heart you protected for so long, or the mercy in your sense of right or wrong. It's not your hands searching slow in the dark, or your nails leaving love's watermark. It's not the way you talk me off the roof, your questions like directions to the truth. It's knowing that this can't go on forever. Likely one of us will have to spend some time alone. Maybe we'll get 40 years together. One day I'll be gone, one day you'll be gone. We were vampires and death was a joke. We go out on the sidewalk and smoke, and laugh at all the lovers and their plans. I wouldn't feel the need to hold your hand. Maybe time running out is a gift. I'll work hard till the end of my shift, to give you every second I can find, and hope it isn't me who's left behind. It's knowing that this can't go on forever. Likely one of us will have to spend some days alone. Maybe we'll get 40 years together. One day I'll be gone, one day you'll be gone. Some days alone. Maybe we'll get 40 years together. One day I'll be gone, one day you'll be gone.
So it's a sad song, but it's a beautiful song. And what started to happen as well was country music with writing brilliant, deep, thought-provoking lyrics, sometimes quite spiritual lyrics as well, started to come back in. And we're going to look at an artist in a minute that kind of was one of the people that kick-started that. But this song, I think it gets to the heart of mortality and what it is to be mortal and what love is, because if Neil Gaiman says, if you're writing a happy story, you need to know when to finish it, because at some point people are going to get left behind. And that's something that gives love attention, and it gives it a real meaning, because Tolkien said about his elves in his books, he said they wondered at the human beings, the fact that they were mortal, because the elves kind of went off and came back and did their thing. But the fact that we're mortal, the fact that our time here is really short, is something to really consider. And I'm amazed that a 3.5-minute pop song can kind of go into that level and explore some of those themes. There's kind of some dangerously dark stuff in some of these songs, but also some incredibly uplifting stuff if you follow it through. Who'd want to be a vampire? Okay. So, there was an artist who, let me find the blipper, he struggled. He lost his job. He lost his long-term girlfriend. He had a gambling addiction. He was very depressed. He went and lived in his father's cabin for a year and just took himself away and watched lots of copies of DVDs of Northern Exposure. And at some point they came out and they said, Bon Iver, happy winter. And he thought, that's a good name for a band. And he had a single microphone, very much like these microphones, but a bit simpler, an SM57. And he started recording some songs on a very cheap guitar, which are now incredibly expensive. Silver-toned Sears Roebuck guitars, used to pick them up for 50 quid. Since this album, that'll be 400, 500 pounds because of this album. And a National guitar, a bit like this one. And he got them out of the boot of the car one day and thought, well, I'll just start recording some songs. I don't know what to do with them. I don't know what they sound like, but we'll just come out the cabin. And he played them to a few people and said, I don't know what these are. I've never heard anything like this. It's so simply recorded, it's so basic. And it became the greatest debut album ever, according to Rolling Stone. It was for Emma Forever Ago. And the sound of that simplicity of just layering up vocals and a simple guitar, or just the sound of the air in the cabin, made a very beautiful sound, and went on to influence so many bands, all the way up through to Mumford & Sons, Laura Marling, Noah and the Whale, Sufjan Stevens. And there was a huge growth in very, very simple acoustic music. And we could follow that through to today to artists like Dodie and so on. There's still a big movement of this kind of acoustic music. At the same time, Bon Iver was also manipulating his voice, because he didn't have very many tools. He just had a laptop. And what he could do was he could pitch shift his voice, a bit like we were with Daft Punk. So even though it was acoustic, and going back to roots and playing this 1920s instrument, this isn't unfortunately a 1920s one, but it's copied on his 1920s one. So these 1920s and 50s instruments. But he wanted to make himself sound like a choir, so he was layering up his voice and putting layers and layers in. And that was very influential as well, so much so that he went on to work with loads of people like Taylor Swift and Kanye West, and developed a whole new sound in pop. And pop actually became a lot sort of simpler and a lot more crafted, and the tones coming in, we'll look at some of those tones and how those changed and became perhaps a little bit more beautiful. And this was kind of the point it changed. So I'm going to have a go at singing this album, a song from this album, Skinny Love. Now the trouble with it is one of the things that makes this album so great is Justin Vernon, who calls himself Bon Iver. I think sitting in the cabin with literally just bears listening to him, he had to chase a bear off the porch one night. He didn't care, he didn't know anybody was going to hear him singing this stuff. And there's a huge vulnerability and beauty in his voice, which he's maintained in all his work. And he's pushed the male voice further, using falsettos and cracks in the voice and things like that. And there's a lovely authenticity to it that he brought back into it as well. Okay.
Right in this moment, his orders told. And I told you to be patient, and I told you to be fine. I told you to be balanced, and I told you to be kind. And in the morning I'll be with you, be a different kind. Holding all the tickets, you'll be owning all the fines.
So, this wonderful album went on to influence loads and loads of wonderful, wonderful acts. And at that point on, I started looking at some of the albums I got from the last 20 years. And it's all about the girls, it's about the women. Because pop music in particular, with the Queen, Beyonce, has developed superbly. And of course, Beyonce went back, rediscovered Etta James, did some wonderful versions of Etta James songs that we heard in the first one that we did, I'd Rather Go Blind. She went back and paid homage to all that, taking through music of black origin, taking it right through. As a black woman, she's gone much, much further and taken, she's an absolute A-list, so she needs recognition for that. And Alicia Keys as well. So Alicia Keys, I really admire her as a performer. So her songs in A minor, right from 2001. She grew up in a place called Hell's Kitchen in New York, and she was in a one-bedroom apartment with her mum. Her dad wasn't around. He was a flight attendant, and she never really saw him or met him. And a neighbour had an old piano, and they carried it up and put it in this one-room apartment. And she got known as Alicia Keys, because she started playing the piano. At 12 years old, she'd worked herself out of Hell's Kitchen, which is one of the roughest places on earth. And she got herself a scholarship to learn classical piano. And from there, she moulded a sound, worked with Jay-Z, the connection with Beyonce, and various others. She moulded a sound that melded hip-hop and classical music. And that song, that album, Songs in A Minor, is actually placed in the Library of Congress as a really important watershed moment for black community, black empowerment, and showing how people can work their way out of places like Hell's Kitchen. We're going to play an Alicia Keys song now. Okay. Alice has to kind of rev up for this one.
in the air for the big city. Street lights, big dreams, all looking pretty. No place in the world that could compare. Put your lighters in the air, everybody say yeah, 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 yeah. New York, concrete jungle where dreams are made of. There's nothing you can't do. Now you're in New York. These streets will make you feel brand new. Be the lights will inspire you. Let's hear it for New York, New York, New York.
So we're definitely thinking about the great women. We've got a John Mayer album down there, Born and Raised, and of course he collaborated quite a bit with Alicia Keys, and actually there's various versions of him playing on that too, as well as collaborating with Jay-Z. So you've got lots of different disparate people working together, from hip hop, from blues, from rock, and pop's really going in a whole new direction at this point. Whoops. Taylor Swift is working with Bon Iver on several albums as well, on Folklore and Evermore, and trying to work on developing new sounds. And 1989 was a bit of a watershed moment because she was battling to be taken seriously as a child star, starting with country music. And with her album 1989-2014, she went back and started again a whole new retro movement. We talked about the retro movement with Mark Ronson. And what Taylor Swift did with this album was she got people back into those synthesizers we were talking about from the 1980s. And that's gone on to influence Sharon Van Etten and Maggie Rogers and all these people that are really trying to get all those kind of 80s sounds and rediscovering them and adding them back in. That brings us to our UK phenomenon, which is Florence and the Machine. And again here, the chance that Florence and the Machine had to be a headliner at Glastonbury Festival was a really big deal. Everybody was thinking, are they quite ready for it? You know, have they been around long enough? Are they going to be able to do it? And it absolutely cracked it with using her ballet and her performance and the commitment to what she was doing. And it's quite a big deal if you're doing something that's unexpected on the Glastonbury stage. The very first female headliner was Suzanne Vega, great artist. And she was actually just picked because there was a last-minute substitution on the Friday night and there was a female-fronted act there. But she was the first big female headliner. And she performed it in a bulletproof vest because she had death threats for being a woman and performing on the Glastonbury stage. So when we look at people like Taylor Swift and the battles they've gone through, it's not inconsiderable. And what she's done for the music industry is an ambassador of vinyl. Perhaps why we're even talking about vinyl today is partly because of her, and her re-recording all of her songs so she can gain control of her masters. She's redefining what it is to be an artist in the music industry. So from the industrial point of view of what she does and the law battles she's fought against sexism with DJs in the music industry, she's fought a lot of battles with women in it. And that makes things like Florence and the Machine possible. This is a terrific track. Dog Days Are Over. It's come up with a big anniversary, but this is the original album, the debut, Lungs.
Happiness, people like a train on a track, coming towards her, stuck still, no turning back. She hid around corners and she hid under bed. She killed it with kisses, and for all that she fled. With every bubble she sank with a drink, and washed it away down the kitchen sink. The dog days are over, the dog days are done. The horses are coming, so you better run. Run fast for your mother, run fast for your father, run for your children, for your sisters and brothers. Leave all your love behind. You can't carry it with you if you want to survive. The dog days are over, the dog days are done. Can you hear the horses? 'Cause you're
Onto the machine. So that brings us to one of the biggest selling artists of the last 100 years. She sold more CDs in the first case than, I think there's nearly as many CDs sold as there in the US as there are citizens in the US somehow. So that's Adele. Okay, so I'm mentioning Adele particularly because this album, 30 years old, of course, you know, you can criticise the songwriting or whatever, you know, but this album is a really interesting album. First of all, she had the power to tell Spotify to play the album in order. So finally, we get a story back. And that's changing because we've now got a generation growing up and saying, oh, if I listen to it on a record, I can hear it in order and I can understand where she's going. She starts off in a really bad place on the record, including samples of her crying on the phone and all sorts. It sounds awful, but it actually takes you on a journey. And by the end of it, it's incredibly uplifting. She's working on the album with Aaron Dresner, who was also working with Taylor Swift, was also working with Bon Iver. So you can see there's the same group of people all working together, pushing things on. Ludwig Göransson, who's scoring all the great films like Oppenheimer and winning Oscars for Black Panther and so on. So there's this wonderful group of people that are making great music and enabling artists like Adele to really produce absolutely fantastic recordings. There's some recordings on this album which go back to the great singers Ella Fitzgerald, Etta James, and also the musicianship on them too, because she's able to get the best musicians. There's a sparsity and a reality to that. There's not auto-tune on it. It's her real voice. We're going to play you one of her biggest earlier hits as a bit of a nod to perhaps one of the greatest songwriters of all time, Bob Dylan, because this is a Bob Dylan song. And we're kind of going to do it as a little bit like Adele and Bob Dylan if we could, in our imagination, sing it together. So that might sound like a terrible idea, but that's what we're going to try and do.
when the rain is blowing in your face and the whole world is on your case, I could offer you a warm embrace to make you feel my love. When evening shadows and the stars appear, there is no one there to dry your tears, I could hold you for a million years to make you feel my love. I know you have a The storms are raging on a rolling sea and on the highway of regret. The winds of change are blowing wild and free. You ain't seen nothing like me yet. I can make you happy, make your dreams come true. Nothing that I wouldn't do. Go to the ends of the earth for you, to make you feel my love, to make you feel my love.
That perhaps brings us to our last song. When the makeup comes off, the roots of music. Here, with the third version of this film, The Star Is Born, Lady Gaga and Bradley Cooper, they're doing some very, very real music. In this, you can hear there's a bit of country, there's a blues lick at the end, but here she's performing without makeup, without auto-tune, and showing that it's a good singer and it's a good song. Yes, the wearing meat and the crazy costumes is kind of really important because that's part of the art and everything. But where it's come back to now is the real reality of music. And it's the same music we've been singing right from the beginning. In the first lecture that we did, we were looking at early roots music. And perhaps when I started today, we went back to the 1870s and Cecil Sharp collecting music. It's just 4 chords and the truth. So we're going to leave you with Shallow.
Tell me something, girl. Are you happy in this modern world? Or do you need more? Is there something else you're searching for? I'm falling. In all the good times I find myself longing for change. And in
thank you very much for joining us on the 3 lectures. Thank you so much for coming out on such a wet night that's been a bit awkward for some people. Thankfully, we videoed it, so I will send the video to anybody that wasn't able to get the ticket. So, hi, well done. I'd like to invite Josh up because he's been absolutely amazing. I've given him all these production challenges and he's met them brilliantly. Let's give him a big round of applause to Josh. A massive round of applause to Alice. A round of applause to my students who've come out on an evening and helped set up certain things as well. The bar will be open for a very short amount of time, so do go down to the bar. We're going to pack up and try and meet you down there in a moment. Thank you for coming.